Sometimes the hardest part of being with someone isn't the arguments, the distance, or even the silence. The hardest part is the quiet uncertainty that sits in the back of your mind when everything seems normal on the surface. Yet something inside you keeps asking, does he really love me, or am I just someone he's comfortable with? Because a man can say beautiful words, he can promise things in emotional moments, he can act affectionate when the mood is right. But real love is not proven in emotional moments. Real love shows itself in repeated patterns. And once you understand those patterns, confusion starts fading and clarity begins to take its place. So here are 7 clear signs a man genuinely loves you, even if he doesn't always say the words out loud. The first sign is that he brings you into his real life instead of keeping you in a separate, controlled space. When a man truly loves you, you don't feel hidden. You don't feel like someone he only sees when it's convenient. Instead, you gradually become part of the life that actually matters to him. You meet the friends he trusts. He talks openly about his plans and where he sees himself going. You're included in conversations about future decisions instead of being treated like a temporary guest. Because when a man is serious, he doesn't compartmentalize you. He integrates you. He wants the important people around him to know who you are, not because you demanded it, but because your place in his life feels natural to him. Hidden relationships survive on convenience. Real relationships grow through inclusion. And a man who loves you will not act like you are someone he needs to manage quietly. He acts like you are someone he is proud to stand beside. The second sign is quieter, but incredibly powerful. A man who genuinely loves you adjusts his behavior in small ways that protect your emotional comfort. This doesn't mean you control him. It means your feelings begin to matter enough that he naturally considers them before acting. He remembers the things that upset you and avoids repeating them. He starts shifting small habits that once created tension. He thinks about how his choices affect you before making them. Real love changes perspective. It slowly moves someone from thinking only about what they want toward thinking about what protects the connection. Effort stops feeling like a burden and starts feeling like responsibility. And responsibility is one of the strongest signals of genuine emotional investment. Someone who only likes you enjoys the good moments. Someone who loves you protects the stability of the relationship itself. The third sign is deeper than most people expect. A man who genuinely loves you pays attention to what matters in your world, even when it has nothing to do with him directly. He remembers when you mention your mother is stressed. He checks how your important meeting went. He notices when your energy feels off and asks what's wrong. Because love doesn't only focus on the person, it cares about the environment that shapes that person. When a man truly loves a woman, her worries stop feeling like background noise. They become signals he listens for. He may not always know how to fix everything, but his attention itself becomes support. And attention is difficult to fake consistently. Interest can be performed for a short time. Real emotional attention shows up repeatedly without needing reminders. The fourth sign is consistency in how he shows up. Not intense affection one week followed by emotional distance the next. Not strong promises during conflict and silence afterward. A man who genuinely loves you builds a pattern of reliability. He follows through on plans. He calls when he says he will. He doesn't disappear when conversations become uncomfortable. Because emotional investment doesn't treat connection like a switch that turns on only when convenient. It treats the relationship like something that requires steady presence. Nobody is perfect every single day, but the overall pattern still shows stability. You don't feel like you must decode his moods just to understand where you stand. You don't feel constant anxiety about whether he's emotionally present. Real love may not always feel exciting, but it almost always feels steady. And steadiness is what creates emotional safety over time. The fifth sign separates temporary attraction from real long-term intention. A man who genuinely loves you supports your growth instead of feeling threatened by it. When you talk about your ambitions, he listens seriously. When opportunities appear, he encourages you rather than subtly making you feel guilty for pursuing them. He doesn't compete with your progress or try to keep you small, so the relationship feels easier to manage. Real love expands with you. It doesn't shrink you. A man who truly loves a woman wants to see her become stronger, happier, and more fulfilled, even if that growth requires patience and adjustment from both of you. Support doesn't always show itself loudly. Sometimes it appears as quiet belief in you during moments when you start doubting yourself, and that quiet belief often says more than dramatic declarations ever could. The sixth sign appears most clearly when problems arise. A man who genuinely loves you protects the relationship itself, not just his pride inside it. When conflict happens, his goal becomes resolution instead of winning. He stays present long enough to understand what went wrong instead of immediately shutting down or blaming. This doesn't mean arguments disappear. It means the bond matters enough that he works to repair tension rather than escape it. Because when someone truly values the connection, protecting that connection becomes more important than protecting their ego. Over time, you begin to notice that even during disagreements, there is still a sense that both of you are working toward the same outcome instead of fighting against each other. The seventh sign is quieter than all the others, but often the most revealing. A man who genuinely loves you listens in a way that makes you feel understood, not dismissed. There's a difference between someone hearing your words and someone actually absorbing what you mean. When a man is emotionally invested, he doesn't just wait for his turn to respond. He notices the details in what you say. He remembers conversations you thought were small. He checks back on things days later because they stayed in his mind. You don't feel like you must repeat the same concern over and over just to be taken seriously. Instead, you feel acknowledged because real listening is not about gathering information. It's about showing someone their thoughts and feelings matter enough to hold your attention. And attention, when it's consistent, becomes one of the clearest proofs of genuine love. Now, here is something important that many people misunderstand. None of these signs are about perfection. A man can love you deeply and still have stressful days, moments of distraction, or times where he struggles to express himself clearly. Real love is not measured by occasional mistakes. It is measured by the direction of his behavior over time. Patterns always reveal the truth louder than promises. Someone can say, "I love you," 100 times and still leave you feeling unsure about your place in his life. Another man might not say the words constantly, yet his actions slowly remove every doubt you once had. Words create emotion in the moment. Patterns create security in the long run. And security is what real love quietly builds. Many people get trapped focusing on dramatic gestures because movies and social media trained us to believe love must look intense to be real. But intensity and reliability are not the same thing. Grand surprises, emotional speeches, and sudden bursts of attention can feel powerful, yet they don't always mean someone is building something lasting with you. Genuine love usually looks quieter. It appears in daily presence, repeated effort, and emotional steadiness. It shows itself in how he treats you when nothing special is happening. Anyone can perform affection during big moments. Real commitment reveals itself in ordinary days when there is nothing to prove and nothing to impress. Another truth that becomes clear over time is that genuine love removes a certain type of emotional confusion. You may still face normal disagreements or misunderstandings, but you don't feel chronically unsure about where you stand. You don't feel like affection only appears when you start pulling away. You don't feel like you must constantly chase reassurance just to feel secure. Instead, there is a gradual sense of emotional safety forming between you. Emotional safety does not mean there are never problems. It means even during those problems, the connection itself does not feel fragile. You still feel respected. You still feel valued. You still feel like your presence matters in his life. Sometimes people overlook these real signs because they are waiting for something louder, something more dramatic, something that feels like undeniable confirmation. But love rarely announces itself with fireworks. More often, it builds itself quietly through repeated proof. It's in the way he makes time even when he's exhausted. It's in the way he includes you in decisions that affect his future. It's in the way he notices when something feels off with you before you explain it. And most importantly, it's in the way his behavior stays aligned even when life becomes stressful. Stress reveals priorities. And when a man genuinely loves you, the relationship remains one of those priorities even during difficult seasons. At the same time, understanding these signs is not meant to make you overanalyze every small interaction. The goal is clarity, not anxiety, because clarity protects you from wasting years trying to decode someone who keeps you emotionally uncertain. When love is real, you may still have questions sometimes, but you will not feel permanently confused about your value or your place in the relationship. There is a difference between occasional doubt and constant emotional instability. Real love settles your mind more than it excites your fear. Here is something even deeper to remember. Genuine love is not proven by how strongly someone reacts when they fear losing you. It is proven by how consistently they show up when they already have you. Anyone can suddenly become attentive when distance appears. Anyone can promise change when consequences arrive. But sustained effort without the threat of losing you is what shows authentic intention. That kind of effort cannot be forced. It either exists naturally or it slowly fades when someone is only halfway invested. If you begin noticing most of these signs in your relationship, that usually means the connection has real emotional depth behind it. It means you are not just someone filling empty space in his life. You are someone he is consciously building with. And when that realization settles in, something inside you relaxes. You stop feeling like you must constantly test the relationship. You stop feeling like you must prove your worth just to keep his attention, because genuine love does not require constant performance. It creates an environment where both people can simply exist, grow, and feel secure together. But if these patterns are mostly absent, if the relationship constantly leaves you guessing, shrinking, or questioning yourself, that uncertainty itself is information. Love should challenge you to grow, but it should not force you to live in permanent confusion. Understanding the difference between effort and excuses, between patterns and promises, between real inclusion and temporary attention can save you years of emotional exhaustion and self-doubt. In the end, real love is rarely hidden behind complicated signals. It shows itself through repeated choices, through presence, through accountability, and through quiet loyalty when nobody is watching. A man who genuinely loves you may not always express everything perfectly, but over time, his actions make the truth impossible to misunderstand. And once you learn to trust patterns more than promises, you stop chasing words and start recognizing the steady behavior that real love is built on.